Hi there, I'm Trunks from Dragon Ball Z Abridged, and these are the Anime Egotists. You know, in the future, podcasts are a little bit different. They're actually from pods. You know, people trying to hide from the androids and everything. I had a favorite podcast for a while, but it got canceled. By the androids. They got killed by the androids. Don't get killed by the androids!
And welcome back to the Anime Egotists, where I'd like to think our plot twists everybody would see coming.
Yeah, they're kind of obvious.
Yeah, I'd say so. And my name's Alex, and even though I grew up with Chaz It Up, I'd like to think Manjome Thunder is pretty damn cool too.
Yeah, it sounds enjoyable. And I'm Richard.
That's correct. And one of the last times we were here, we actually talked about some of the best plot twists in anime.
Yep. But today we're gonna really kind of hurt ourselves and do the opposite.
Yeah. Because there are a lot of bad plot twists in media. Hope's mom being alive again, and the idea that Ted still loves Robin, or the fact that Omi's parents were actually just robots created by Jack Spicer. Go figure. There are a lot of bad plot twists out there, and there are especially some bad plot twists out there in anime, so that's what we're here to talk about. That we don't really have much of anything else, but worst plot twists in anime. The stuff that was nonsensical, weird, or just all over the place. Would you like to start us off?
Sure, I can. So this is one I'm interested to get your opinion on. Rops is sent back to the Momoto world off screen. Kind of. They're showing flashbacks, but this feels like it would have been a great place to introduce Zeno to Zatch as having this kind of rivalish Momoto and Rops get sent back maybe while they're trying to meet up or something, but it's just you have Apollo show up kind of randomly. He's now become a bit taken over his family's company, and that's because Rops got sent back, technically off screen, kind of.
Yeah, look, as a kid, I was sad about this, but now that I'm older, I'm kind of like, I'm still sad, but like, man, you did not make Rops look all that good.
Yeah, because I mean, that's the thing. Rups had fought Zatch pretty much to a standstill, and they were kind of on equal footing. So, I mean, I know that's kind of the shock factor. I guess they're going for is there's someone out there so strong that they easily defeated Rups and have pretty much destroyed Apollo's life in the process by from what he was wanting to do with his life. So, I don't know. It just this never felt right, and it feels like I don't know. It feels like something that Rops should have been more of a main character or continued on throughout the series.
Yeah, I guess part of the thing for me is I feel like even with my rewatch, they don't even address it all that often. Like in the opening theme song, well, at least in the Japanese version, you'll see Zash remembering Rops and all of it. Rops, Kalulu, even Penny showing up. But besides that, I don't feel like we have Apollo even around all that much. And I understand the point is, well, once the Momoto gets sent back, why would we have the humans stick around? But I don't know, just a little sense of humanity could have been cool.
Yeah, he was one of the more interesting humans to go with because he was a nice guy who was kind of using Rops as a way to run away from his family because he wanted to travel and be. They always seem to want to save people and be kind of the traveling adventurers, but that all fell apart again when Rops goes away. So
I'd rather have a Momoto than do actual responsibility, so I can't blame him there.
yeah, I think it would have been interesting had maybe hey Apollo gotten a chance to still be like the adventurer out on his own and as I don't know how to put it, just it kind of as a remembrance to Rops, but that as you said, he kind of just goes away. So it everything about this plot just irks me a little bit.
Yeah, I can understand. I actually ended up liking Rops and Apollo a lot more upon my rewatch.
Yeah, I was really sad when I got to the part where they get sent back, so it was disappointing.
Yeah, I can co-sign.
All right, so your first one.
All right, well, I'm going to start off with a pretty easy one. Maka is the one who finishes off Medusa, Soul Eater.
Okay.
Look, look. Unlike most people, I actually really like Maka. I think she's a really cool character, but her finishing off Medusa never really felt all that right to me. Because Krona's bleeding out at this point by the last few episodes, and with everything Krona went through, them being the one to finally strike down Medusa might have been more cathartic. Even if in the manga that does happen and actually does lead to actually a pretty, it actually ends up backfiring in some cases. But I don't know. I just felt like Medusa is the big bad. She's this scary, vindictive, super hot snake lady, and I don't know. It just sort of feels like if Maka well, I guess Maka technically, if she was going to be the one to finish off Ashura, even if that wasn't that great either, I think all of them finishing off Medusa once and for all, if they had to differ from the manga, could have been just so much more interesting.
I can co-sign. Yeah, it makes Maka too much of the single main character, and I guess she kind of is for the story, but you've got a whole kind of cast that serves as the main cast. So I can understand where this comes from, and I will co-sign.
Yeah, I also kind of wanted to rope in and the fact that she's a mice and a weapon, but it only pops up so quickly that I'm like, huh, I almost forgot it even existed. So
Yeah, it feels like there's so much missing from the ending specifically of Soul Eater. So it's one of those, I don't know. This is one that we've talked about plenty. Needing even a movie adaptation might be interesting if they just told like the final arc.
now the funny thing is, I've listened to people who have finished the manga, and they said the manga ending might be worse than the anime ending. I'm like, oh, God, that doesn't that makes me sad.
It feels like it kind of just ends when there might have been more arcs that could have come about that aren't there. So it's kind of in a weird spot for me.
Yeah, there was other stuff, but I don't remember a whole lot about it. The only thing I remember is that they all switched genders at one point.
I think I remember seeing manga pictures of that and going, okay, this is weird, and I'm not going to read this because I just don't have time to read it.
Yeah, and then apparently through all that, it's revealed that Tsubaki's the most perverted one, which I guess itself is a plot twist, I guess.
I don't know how to feel about that.
I, nope, not gonna say it. Let's just move on,
All right, so my next one,
please.
uh, Lisanna Strauss is alive fairy tale.
Okay.
This one hits me. Sometimes it's my favorite moment, and sometimes it's my least. And right now, it's my least. When I think about it, the part that's disappointing to me right now is uh, that it kind of comes out of nowhere. We've got this. It's the very end of an arc. They pretty much have her show up at the end. She doesn't do anything to help in the arc itself, which would have, I think, if that had happened, it would have been, oh, a good plot twist. She shows up, she reveals she's the Lisanna from their world and helps save the rest of Fairy Tale. And the day is saved, she says goodbye to her siblings and goes back in the alternate world and comes back. They just kind of, I mean, they just kind of have her, oh, she's the one that we said we killed off, and now she's back alive, and she's forced back into the world from away from the brother and sister she's lived with for like the last year and a half or 2 years, however long it's been since that or supposed death. So again, I like the reunion with her siblings in the main world of Fairy Tale, but just the fact that she does nothing in this arc and barely is in the other arcs is kind of disappointing.
So would it have made more sense for her to just stayed gone if they weren't going to do anything with her?
Possibly, or as I said, if she had played even just a bigger role in the arc that she comes back on, where like she realizes that uh that the Natsu she's seeing is the Natsu from her world, and she reveals that she's the Lisanna from their world, I think it could have been a lot more. If that would have given her more depth as like trying to run off and return to her own world kind of thing, but they don't, and that's again, it's just it feels like, oh, we had this character that we actually killed off, and no, we didn't.
It's funny that I just talked about Medusa because even she came back at the epilogue of that. But I think from your perspective, this makes a little more sense.
Yeah, and this isn't the only one that I have where someone comes back to life technically, but we'll get to that later.
Oh, I know how much you love that cliche, but I can co-sign it. It sounds like it. Well, not horrible. It does sound like I can understand your frustration.
Yeah, this is one that I'm okay with if it had been done better.
Okay.
All right, so your next one.
All right. I'm gonna need your help with this one because I don't think it's horrible, but it's more of a head scratching plot twist than anything.
Okay.
Jiren's backstory from Dragon Ball Super.
The whole he's doing this fight so he could resurrect his master to get the praise he never had kind of thing.
Something like that. Like we learned Jiren's backstory after he's done demolishing almost everybody, and that like all of his friends and family were killed. He was rescued by some martial art. It's like I and you brought up before that he wanted to resurrect somebody who he never got praise from. But and on the one hand, I appreciate that they're trying to make more nuanced, well-developed three-dimensional characters. But for Jiren, I don't know. It just the execution of it just felt so like they told his backstory and then they just stopped. They're just like, all right, let's pretend we never heard that. Like, I don't know. I feel like the impact it had on the fan base, Jiren just hasn't been the same since. And I can't fully blame the fans for not being interested in his backstory because it feels so generic and lame. At the same time, though, I don't know. I appreciate them trying. It's something.
The thing I wish that they had leaned more into would have been the the other, like all the different members of the universe, of the different universes, realizing that if Jiren wins, he's going to make this wish and it's going to be a selfish wish and cause the end of the universe kind of thing. Because it's heavily implied that, again, that Zeno, if the wish is considered selfish, will destroy all the universe, that even if it wins. And I feel like this could have, you're right, this was needs something more, I think, is the big issue.
Yeah. And I just sort of feel like I like the idea that even after like I feel like they could have played up the differences between Jiren's form of justice and like Toppo and Dispo and the other Pride Troopers' form of justice, but it just doesn't get referenced all that much. And I like that even after everything, Toppo's still supporting Jiren, saying you can win, Jiren, and kind of showing there is a camaraderie there. But the whole thing is a little messy, in my opinion. I don't think it's horrible, but it feels more like a first draft that you could have spent a little more time on.
Yeah, it feels like that they just wanted to try to give him depth without thinking everything through necessarily.
Yeah. Like I said, not terrible, and to an extent, and I still like Jiren to an extent, but I can understand where the frustration came from.
Yeah, I'll co-side. I feel like if they had played it up more as his backstory is leading him to possibly make a selfish wish that will destroy everything instead of just his own universe, and but he doesn't care or something, and he's not being selfish, he's just so obsessed with doing it or something.
Yeah, something along those lines.
So, all right. So my next one. So I'll do the one I have for Dragon Ball. This is one that it just feels so stupid. So Goku forgets to take his heart meds in Dragon Ball Z. So you have Trunks come back and give Goku the heart medication for the virus that is going to attack him and during the moments and lead to his death. He forgets to take them and pretty much has a heart attack on the battlefield, and he survives this time because he takes the meds then, but this is just one that's like you'd think that like Gohan would remember and go, Chi-Chi, give him this at this time, and Chi-Chi would easily remember or something, but and force him to take it or something. Because Chi-Chi, she would do everything to keep him alive.
Okay, first of all, I know how serious this is because you're actually giving praise to future Trunks. So that's a little frightening. But second of all, I can't I defend Goku for a lot. I really can't defend him for this because it's not. I guess the only thing I can kind of think of is the medication wasn't, hey, if you take this, then you'll never have it. It's more along the lines of, if you take this the second you're feeling symptoms, then it'll be good. But even then, Goku still doesn't do it. Like, he starts feeling like, huh, man, I'm not feeling so good. I'm like, oh, well, why don't you take that medication that Trunks warned you about? Oh, no? Oh, okay.
Yeah, there's just a lot with this. It's like, I don't know. Again, if he had taken the medication, then it becomes a non-issue. The only thing I could have seen that they do this kind of better would have been Goku takes the heart medication, but someone else or what if he gives the medication to someone else to who in their group has the gets the heart virus instead. That
Or even
then
just
it's
a
like okay,
random citizen.
yeah, it's like then Goku that's Goku. He's still being the hero. He's giving someone else the chance to take the medication instead of him, and he gets he we still get him suffering from the heart virus instead. But maybe maybe somewhere the timelines changed enough where Goku's strong enough to survive it without it now or something.
Maybe Sparking Zero will make it so, hey, unlike this level where you have to fight somebody, does Goku take the medicine? I'm like, yes, obviously. I'm not saying Sparking Zero will definitely have that. I'm just saying it would be kind of funny if they did.
Yeah, but again, just there's so many different ways that this could have been done. Where I even again, I always praise Dragon Ball Z Bridge because I like their edit because it works with their version of Goku. It was great flavored, and he didn't like great flavor.
That's not much better, but I do understand where you're coming from. Then again, not to defend Goku, because I usually like to, but not to defend him. But there are way too many moments in the Cell Saga where it's like, well, if they just done this, then everything would have worked out. So while I'm not happy with Goku, there are also other people in this arc where it's like, ooh, the rest of you are not safe. Looking at you, Vegeta. Looking at you, Krillin.
Yeah, this is one of those ones that yeah, I just there's so many moments in this season that were like, really, what the plot twist? Vegeta lets Cell get perfect. That's technically a plot twist that again is leads to the whole story. I know pride and all that, but yeah.
Yeah, but I can co-sign. And hindsight, that now I'm starting to get upset.
All right. So your next one?
Professor Banner manifested everything in Yu-Gi-Oh! GX, or he also didn't.
Okay.
All right, so towards the end of the Shadow Riders arc, the last Shadow Rider is revealed to be Professor Banner, and he's been in charge of the Shadow Riders. Jaden's dueling him, and Professor Banner tries to get in Jaden's head and say, "Hey, what are you talking? You're not that good of a duelist. I fixed everything." And I'm like, "What?" Like, he made it so Jade would win all of his duels. So I'm like, so let me see if I get this straight. Look, I can understand to some extent all of Jaden's duels where it's like, okay, if you lose this duel, then you're expelled, or the fate of the world leading up to Banner. But you're also telling me that it doesn't make Jaden look like a good duelist if you're telling him, hey, all of your stuff is fixed, which doesn't make any sense. Not to mention that Jaden falls for this in some sense. But at the end, Banner says, hey, I was lying. You're actually a good duelist. Like, I was texting you.
Yeah. From what I remember of this end of the because this is kind of the end of the first season, isn't it?
Yes.
yeah, it can be disappointing because it's like, okay, well, because it's kind of been implied that Banner's been a bad guy this entire time for the last few episodes, and oh no, not really, but yeah, it feels kind of wishy-washy where they keep going back and forth on is he good or is he bad.
Yeah, not to mention, let's think about this. So you're telling me all of Jaden's duels have been fixed at this point. So does that mean Professor Man decide and so one day I'm going to have Jaden duel a talking monkey. Oh, I'm gonna have him duel Balowski and almost fall asleep one episode. Oh, I'm gonna have him go up against a tennis guy. Hey, like you're telling me all of these ridiculous duels that Bear's like, you know what? Let me tool with Jaden a little bit. Like it gets ridiculous the more you think about it.
Yeah, I mean, the only way I could think of that his duels were fixed is maybe if like he hacked all the dual discs in there so that they shuffle the cards a specific way every single time. So Jaden's guaranteed to get his what he needs when he needs it, and the other person is guaranteed not to. But
Well,
they
that
don't
does
even do that.
it's like I said, it doesn't make sense from a serious standpoint, and from a comedic standpoint, you just kind of roll your eyes at it. But Jaden falling for it, especially during the duel, where it's like, oh, what if I'm really not all that good? But what if I'm like, shut the Jaden, you're better than this. Come on.
Yeah, I seem to remember being kind of like because I actually liked Banner throughout the series. He was or throughout the first season, he was one of my favorite characters.
Yeah, he was solid.
So to have him do all this and kind of feels like he undermines Jaden's confidence and all that, it just doesn't feel like him.
Yeah, it's not that good, but it's too. I can't even fully hate it because it just doesn't make it. It doesn't really mean anything in the long runs. But that's it for me. The next couple I have outside of honorable mentions are well,
Yeah,
you guys like to get us to get upset, so we'll see.
yeah. This is the one that am really interested to get your opinion on because it's kind of a plot twist but it happens like in the final minutes of the final episode. Dita and Zima do nothing. Showbits.
Hmm. Okay. Proceed.
So it's built up that she is again the Chobits model, so she's supposed to be like the uh this big all powerful computer with different abilities and stuff. And Dima and Zima are supposed to be these protective kind of they protect the rest of the ship or the Persicoms from I guess viral attack or something. And it's heavily implied that they're going after Chi because they view that her ability to give all Persicom's emotions is going to cause issues. And they show up at the end, and if I remember correctly, it's Zima does convinces Dita that they should do nothing. So there's not a big fight. There's no the tension kind of goes out very quickly when they show up instead of building. Like it feels like they should be showing up at the start of the final episode to do it, and then uh Zima has a change of heart like during while they're trying to get Chi or something, but nothing happens here. It's all of a sudden. And I don't know. There's just it feels like these two characters should have had so much more with especially right at the end.
All right, I'm a little conflicted about this one to be honest, because when I first saw Chobits, I was like, "Wow, this is a great show," but the ending sucks. But upon my set, and yes, I will say several rewatches, I did slowly start to pick up on what was going on because as they were watching, remind me the name of the male Persicom who decides to fall back.
I'm pretty sure that one is Zima.
Zima. Okay. Hey, so it is somewhat implied throughout the series that as they're watching Chi and Hideki go through all these problems and helping their friend, and that emotions could be nice for people. Like, sure, emotions have drawbacks, but at the same time, it could be like emotions can be a beautiful thing and how we process and how we feel human. And I'm not set, and maybe throughout all of that, when he, Deki, and Chi finally confess to each other, maybe that's a case of what he wants, that of what he's trying to protect and what he wants to see. Is it perfect? No, but I think it's a little bit better upon a rewatch, at least in my opinion.
Okay. Yeah,
Like I said, it's not perfect. I Much like what I said a little bit before, it's a rough draft that really should have had a couple more, should have had a little more to it before being sent off.
yeah. There's just because these characters aren't even introduced that far from the ending. If I remember correctly, I mean they might be seen like once before, like earlier, but they really get introduced like 3 or 4 episodes before the ending of the series, where they get a little bit to do, but not much, and then that's it. So it feels like they could have been completely out of the series, and it wouldn't change a thing.
Yeah. That being said, though, if Chobits ever got a sequel, which I don't even know if I necessarily say it should or not. If they were kind of trying to redeem themselves and like Hideki and Chi were kind of helping alongside that, I don't think it would be the worst thing in the world.
No, they have potential because they were really kind of interesting, being that kind of Matrix style of that, because in design they had the kind of black clothes and looked more stealthy, athletic than other Persicoms. So it was kind of interesting.
Yeah, maybe they just showed up in the wrong series. Maybe they got to the wrong show and they're like, "Oh crap, we're already here, so let's do it."
I know that there's another series that follows. I think it might be a game that follows uh, the organization. I was reading on it when I was looking at these characters up, and I was kind of interested. I was like, I don't. This sounds like it could be really interesting, but I don't know. They don't. It wasn't described well because it was on the Showbits one or fan wiki. So
Yeah. Yeah, there are other series of Clamp that I want to check out, but just not right now. But like I've said, I can kind of co-sign, see where you're coming from, but with a rewatch, it's not nearly as bad. Still not great, but it's easier to digest with a rewatch.
yeah, maybe if I could get watch it again eventually and get more details, maybe then I'll feel differently. But until then, I'm putting it on my list.
It's perfectly fine.
All right. So your next honorable or next one?
Oh dear. Manami is the real bad guy? Oreimo?
Okay.
Okay, so throughout the series, these Kyosuke and Kirino are trying to repair their sibling relationship, and Manami is one of Kyosuke's closest friends growing up. Her and Kirino do not really get along, and Manami is kind of on the plain side. She gets described as an old woman in a teenager's body, mild, kind of meek at times, but can be very brutally honest. And with her and Kirino not getting along, we actually get an explanation for it. When Kirino and Kyosuke were younger and they knew Manami kind of knew how Kirino felt about Kyosuke, and she told her, yeah, it's not a good idea. Like, those feelings you have, shut them down. And Kyosuke was also in an accident, and he was nearly hurt or worse. And Manami told him, hey, being so reckless all the time is kind of scary. Hey, you could lose your life. It's like, please think about things. Please be a little more cautious about this. And apparently, through that, it's revealed that that's why Kyosuke is this bland, boring protagonist. That, yeah, apparently there's actually a reason for it. And so, in a sense, I guess I have to give them credit for that. But towards the end of the series, that's the thing I didn't mention. This is all revealed towards the end of the series. Is Manami my favorite character? Not necessarily. There are like two other characters who I would actually say I really enjoy these characters. But this whole plot twist that they try to write her as this manipulative, vindictive, evil person, despite the fact that she's kind of right in a sense, just doesn't really feel all that special. It kind of just feels like you decide to twist our minds just for the sake of it. It especially doesn't help because Kirino, I don't know if we're ever gonna do this list, but I'm just gonna come out and say it now. Kirito, in my opinion, is the most unlikable character I've ever seen in an anime. She's vindictive, she's mean, she bullies people. Well, she almost never apologizes for anything she's done. So when the plot twist is, oh, turns out she had a reason for doing that, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. It doesn't sit well. Like, you don't know the show, but I'm gonna kind of twist it in a way to maybe make it so where you can see where I'm coming from, Richard.
Okay.
Imagine if it turned out in Naruto that Danzo was right all along. Everything Danzo did was completely justified, and not only justified, but he was doing the right thing all along. And imagine if the other plot twist was that Shikamaru was the main villain of Naruto. You wouldn't believe it. You would be like, "What?" And I use Shikamaru because Richard, I know you love Shikamaru. I love Shikamaru. He's one of your favorite characters, but you would think to yourself, "Huh, one of these characters is my absolute favorite, but you decide to make them a bad guy. Well, one of these characters I despise as a villain, but you try to make them likable. It You understand why it doesn't really work."
Yeah, I mean, uh, God, this is like it's hard to comprehend, but I think you did a pretty good job there. It's just, yeah, I based on your description, it's like, wow, this is like the worst version of everything happening.
Yeah, and the worst part is, Manami even says, "Look, the reason I don't want you two to be together is not because you're bad people. Well, they are bad people, but still." She says, "Is a brother and a sister being together in a relationship. People will look at you differently. People will shun you. People will hurt you. It could have damaging effects on your relationship. Your relationship, which it is already pretty poorly, which is already in a pretty bad state. Do you guys really want to go through this?" And then in the end, they decide to go through with it. But then later, they decide not to. So it. Richard, I'm gonna say, Richard, I don't say this often, like, because there are shows I watch that you've said you want to give a chance, and I'm gonna say it. I can't believe I'm saying this. Richard, I love you too much to ever let you watch this show.
This one is one that I've never been interested in. It's always been that show. It's been one of the, I don't know, 3 or 4 shows that I think I've heard of that all talk about brother and sister end up together.
Look, if there are people out there who love Oreimo, I'm happy you enjoy it. I'm happy you like it. But the thing that never sits well for me is when people say, "Well, it's not about the incest, it's about the characters." But it's like I've said before, if one of these characters is one of the most unlikable pieces of garbage I've seen in anime, I don't care what the ending is. She could cure cancer, and I'm like, no, I'm not seeing you as the good guy in this scenario. You've built up 20 something episodes of her being unlikable. You can't switch that in the last 5 minutes. That doesn't work for me, brother.
Nah, yeah, but this completely changing the character in the final story part is just no, it doesn't work.
Yeah, let's can we move on to honorable mentions before I start crying?
Yeah. So my first honorable mention is one that I put as an honorable mention because I think we've talked about it enough, but it has to be on this list. Kaguya is the big bad for Naruto.
Yep.
Again, it's one that we kind of see coming because we get if you've only watched the anime, because you get uh the flashback and her story and all that, and then she shows up. So there's that. It's just, I don't know. Yep. It comes out of left field. It feels like Madara was built up, built up, built up, built up, and then they just kind of, oh, we need someone different because Madara has to be somewhat sympathetic at the end. It's like, no, make him the big bad. Make him be like the embodiment of the worst qualities of an Uchiha at this point.
I think what the hell was that noise? Anyways, I think the reason they did that wasn't necessarily because Madara was supposed to be sympathetic. I think for me at least, it felt like Madara was too powerful. Similar to why Itachi died from that chakra illness. It's like, I don't know how to, like, Kishimoto thought to himself, I don't know how to kill Madara, so I'm just gonna have Kaguya kind of be the center and Zetsu be the centerpiece for it. despite the fact it would have made much more sense, in my opinion, had Might Guy been the one to finish off Madara. Kaguya appears, and then the Naruto Sasuke stuff happens.
Yeah, I guess there are ways that Kaguya could have been brought in as like another issue. Like, okay, my guy defeats uh Madara, and then but that whatever he does is enough to allow Black Zetsu to uh resurrect Kaguya at that point.
Yeah. At the same time, though, part of me is also kind of like, huh, did Kaguya show up too early? Should she have been the connection between, should she have been a villain in Boruto? Because she shows up and then she's sort of gone. It's almost like it didn't fully matter.
Again, she's just one of those characters that it feels like it drags the ending along because this is part of this combined with all the Infinite Tsukuyomi dreams makes the anime drag on way too long at this point.
As somebody who read the manga, it didn't help the manga too much either.
Yeah, I mean, I imagine it feels a little bit more faster paced there because it doesn't have you don't go straight from the dreams to them fighting Madara to that, so you have a little bit more of a straight through kind of thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Little bit of a side tangent. Would you ever be interested in doing a video where we fix the war arc?
That could be fun.
It would take a lot of time on my part, but I'm putting that in the background, the real far background. But that's just an idea that popped in my head.
Yeah, that would be a fun one, I think, to do because we both agree that it's a good arc, but it has some major flaws.
Yeah. Yes, but I can co-sign. Kaguya is not really it.
Yeah. All right. So your first honorable mention?
All right. These are the two I kind of have to combine together because one of these shows does it in a not good way, but still manageable, and the other show does it in kind of a like, I don't know how they gotten away with it sort of way.
Okay.
All right, I'm gonna get the bad one out of the way first. Purrloin is a guy from Pokemon.
Oh.
Yeah, yeah. Yep. So throughout Black and White, they did this arc where Meowth was traveling with Ash and friends, which to this day I still don't fully know whether I liked it or not. But there's this trainer with the Purrloin, and of course Meowth has to fall in love with it, and also so does Oshawott, because okay. And they're constantly trying to save it and help through the episode of the day shenanigans, and they're flirting with Purrloin. And towards the end of the episode, the trainer says, "Hey, thanks for everything." And Meowth says, "The one thing I want to request is for Purrloin to go out with me." And then Oshawott shows up with flowers too. And Purrloin looks at the flowers, says something, and the trainer says, "Yeah, Purrloin's a guy." And that's supposed to be the joke.
All right. So what's the other one that you were gonna?
Yeah, it just feels kind of insulting. Like, furthermore, can't Pokemon tell gender? Two male Pokemon can't be. I don't know. It doesn't work for me, bro. It doesn't work for me.
Yeah, it's a really awkward joke, especially. I mean, it wouldn't be good in any show, but for this to be a kids anime, it's not good.
Yeah. I tried to give Pokemon Black and White the anime specifically. I tried to give flowers because seemingly nobody else does. But this is not one. This was not one of my favorite moments. This was not a good plot twist.
Yeah, no.
All right,
I'll sign on to that part of it. So what's the next part?
all right. This is from the manga, so it's I had to put it as an honorable mention. Hairo isn't into anybody in Psyche K.
Okay.
So there's a chapter of the manga where it's Valentine's Day and you remember Hairo, the really hot-blooded athletic guy whose pants kept coming down.
Um, actually, no, I don't
If
remember.
you look up a picture of him, I know you will recognize this guy.
You said it was Hairo?
Hairo. Hairo. I know for a fact you're going to recognize this guy. It's kind of hard not to, in all honesty.
Oh. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so he's getting a lot of Valentine's Day chocolate. And Kaido and Kubiyasu both look and they're like, huh, that's interesting. Like, Hiro's super popular, but we never really see him like flirting with anybody. So, or any of the girls, because all the girls are the ones giving him Valentine's chocolate. Do you think he might do you think Hiro might be interested in guys? And they're trying to figure it out. And safe to say, Iroh kind of brings it on himself sometimes. He usually hangs out with guys. He's telling it. He uses a lot of phrasing that you could take it in a certain way. Hey, but throughout the chapter, he wants to have a sumo match with Nendo because they're rivals for whatever reason. To make a long story short, they get super sweaty at moments. They're grabbing onto each other, and Kaido and Kubiyasu can't really make it out. And even Psyche says, "Huh? I mean, I guess it doesn't fully matter, but I am kind of curious." Only for Hiro to say, "Hey, oh no, I just have never really been interested in anybody. That's just how I've been." It on the one hand, I don't like this because why do they care so much about their friend's sexuality? And even if Hiro is interested in guys, it doesn't matter. You shouldn't care. But on the other hand, when Hiro says, I just haven't been interested in anybody, I don't know if I ever will be, it's handled pretty well. The guys seem accepting of it. They all seem like they're cool with they seem very supportive, but there's too many icky parts of it for me to say I love this, but there's some wholesome stuff about it that's like, wow, these guys are cool that I can't fully say I hate it. But it's not great, but it's better than the Pokemon example.
Okay. Yeah. It's definitely handled better than the Pokemon version of this. Yeah, I mean, there are. It. Yeah, I don't know. This is always a weird topic because anime does it a good bit throughout different series, and they do it in different ways, and it can be handled fine. I mean, uh, yeah. As I said, this is just one that I'm a little iffy on because I don't remember this story arc. But well, you said this was manga
It was
specific.
specifically a manga chapter, but when people are telling me about it, I'm like, all right, I can check it out. And I'm like, oh, I can kind of see why they maybe didn't go through with this, animating this episode.
Okay, yeah. I'll consider again. This is one that I've seen a good number of different anime uh do similar kind of things. They did. I mean, there's the one that comes to mind is the one in Naruto with oh God, what's their name? The character you based your character on in Naruto with the ice powers.
Oh, Haku.
Yeah, that they, but they only like they again they do make a little bit of an insensitive joke with how Naruto reacts, but they seem accepting of it from then on, kind of as it. So as I said, you kind of see it all over the place in anime.
Yeah. Like I said, I don't love how Psyche K did it, but I kind of appreciate, in some senses, how they're like, oh, even if they're a little insensitive about it, deep down, we know Kaido and Kubiyasu. They wouldn't like shun somebody for being gay or having different sexual preferences. There's nothing wrong. It's just not handled. It's not a plot twist that's handled perfectly, but it could have been a whole lot worse. Looking at you,
Yeah,
Pokemon.
yeah. As I said, this is one that I've seen a few different times, and I've had times where it's oh they handled that well, and other times where no they did not.
I'm just shocked you remember my Naruto character.
Yeah. Right. So my next honorable mention.
Please.
So this is my other one where it's someone that was alive, and you can see it coming, and it just I don't know. It's kind of I don't know. It feels like they're just replacing another character, and it's Sabo is alive in One Piece.
I had a feeling.
Yeah, yeah. It's okay. They introduced Sabo pretty much right about the time that they're killing off Ace. So it's like, okay, well, why are we introducing this random new character from their backstory into the story now? Oh, yeah. Oh, that's obviously going to be him. Okay. And to give him to turn around and give him Ace's powers right away, I don't know. It feels like kind of like, okay, we're taking Ace, who we actually got some development through like the earlier parts of the series, and we got to see background scenes of him and Luffy, and we just replaced him with someone else. No, and he hasn't done much. He's in the Dressrosa arc, and we see him infiltrating one the world government building, and that's been it. That's his entire everything he's really done over the last like 500 chapters of the manga.
You know, as much as I appreciate and respect One Piece for all its lore and cool stuff, there are a lot of really obvious characters who should be focused on more who just don't do anything.
Yeah. Now, Sabo's might play a big role because there's a lot of speculation that part of the story is going to end with a successful version of the Marineford arc and the war arc again, with Sabo having been captured and Luffy going out this time with his crew and actually being able to save Sabo. But until I see that, again, it feels kind of like a cop out, unfortunately, because Sabo just hasn't done much and hasn't earned the same feelings as Ace for me.
Yeah, but didn't you said it turns out he's alive? So what moment specifically are you mentioning?
Specifically, I'm bringing up the episode in Dressrosa where uh, Sabo walks up and reveals to Luffy that he's still alive, and it's like, okay, well, again, I know we've gotten your backstory in the anime and the manga, but in the story of Sabo, but it feels like he was introduced and used as this plot twist for and kind of just, oh, we're replacing Ace because again they gave him his powers like in that one arc.
I would have loved, and this is before the time skip, correct?
No, this is after.
Oh, damn, never mind. I was going to try and save it by being like, imagine if we got like tiny little steps of like, oh, well, what's going on with, like, maybe tease the idea that we already know Sabo is alive, but maybe we just don't know what exactly he's doing. And then the plot twist is like, he has Ace's powers. Like, that could connect the two a little more. Because him being alive does kind of cheapen things. But if we already knew it, maybe that would have made things better.
Yeah, because the arc he comes or the part of the arc that he comes in on is that they're doing the tournament for the flame fruit. Uh, so he takes Luffy's spot and wins the fruit and eats it and becomes the new flame man or whatever they call it.
Yeah. I can kind of co-sign though. Because I don't think it's horrible though, but like you said, until we see more from it's kind of hard to justify in a sense.
Yeah. Again, if we had gotten more than just like one, like it's like a few episode backstory for Sabo, and if it didn't feel like they brought him in to replace Ace, I feel like it would be more. If maybe if he had his own powers and abilities that made him more unique to start out the uh, second half, it would be like, oh, okay, this is interesting. He's learned some stuff that is different.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, so your next honorable mention.
All right. Kind of a complicated one, so it's an honorable mention. Naruto's childhood told through Naruto Shippuden.
Okay.
All right, so when we meet Naruto in the original series, we learn his parents are gone, and he's holding the nine-tailed fox, and everybody hates him until he works hard to earn everyone's approval. But Shippuden really complicates things. Don't get me wrong, I like the idea that his parents did everything they could to keep him safe. But still, the idea that his mom and his dad were the ones who helped put the Nine Tails Fox spirit inside of him, kind of makes things all the more weirder when you learn, oh, the Nine-Tailed Fox is the strongest tailed beast of the original nine. You're like, okay, that kind of takes away the whole hard work thing in a sense. But you know what? Let's just keep going. the whole idea that you ruin the third Hokage's credibility when he says, "Oh, I'll take care of Naruto. You have my word," and then he sort of doesn't do it. He kind of does, but he also doesn't. And the idea that he's the reincarnation in of this god doesn't really work. Or once again, you take away the idea that he's been working hard and that's what makes him stronger. And also, once again, you kind of prove Neji right. But and then they do this weird thing where they say, "Oh my god," Naruto learns, "Oh my god, the fourth Hokage is my dad," and it's a shock to everybody. And that they look the exact same.
I can co-sign onto this. There are some parts that I do like. I did like that Shikamaru is nicer to him. Not they're not necessarily friends, but Shikamaru being able to figure it out, that helps build Shikamaru up a little bit. That
I guess in the sense it does. Like Shikamaru and Choji, don't leave Choji out. Like they were both like, "Oh, we kind of like him," but at the same time, if that's the case, why weren't these guys closer growing up? Why did they build Naruto as this friendless kid who's miserable when Shikamaru and Choji, if they were as nice as they were, don't you think they would have at least, like, I don't know, kind of been cool with each other?
yeah, there I don't know. There's parts of it that work and parts that don't. You're very much right on this because yeah, it feels like he should know like oh he should know his father's master in Jiraiya because Jiraiya is technically his godfather and should have been at least around a little bit.
Doesn't make Jiraiya in the best light either. Like it just feels like there are so many rewrites that don't make Naruto's backstory a little more complicated, but also doesn't make anybody else all that likable. Like heck, even the idea that he and Hinata were like he was nice to Hinata in her childhood, as nice as it is, it's also like, wow, you're throwing all of this in at the last moment to justify them being together. It seems like it would have been easier had you built this up naturally than just throw it in at the last minute and expect people to be cool with it. Like I don't know. Shippuden did not help Naruto's childhood. It kind of just made it all the more, at times, frustrating and head scratching.
Yeah, that's a good way to describe it because thinking back on it, it's like it's so convoluted because they change and it feels like they do retcon things and stuff. Because I'm thinking back, it's like, oh, him and like he has kind of this rivalry with Kiba, but that's only implied that Kiba's annoyed at him because Kiba was not a prodigy, but was good at the academy, and Naruto wasn't, and now Naruto's gotten a lot stronger real quick.
I think I actually have a way of fixing Kiba, but that's another video for another day.
I think that's actually what we've talked about doing before.
Yeah, but I have more. I'm saying because I have more ideas for Kiba than I would have for, like, sadly, even Rock Lee.
Yeah, well, there's parts of Rock Lee, but overall, I like Rock Lee's story, especially in Naruto.
Yeah, but Shippuden, he didn't do jack, which, like I said, like I appreciate the more detail and development they tried adding to it, but some of the stuff from his childhood in Shippuden just didn't make any sense for Naruto.
Yeah, as I said, thinking back on it, there's a lot of contradiction of what was said and what was actually done, and well, all right. So my final honorable mention.
Go ahead.
All right. So this is one I've talked about, and it starts out the show, and it's Myne is a liar and evil in The Rising of the Shield Hero.
Oh boy.
This is again one of the. This is one that started out with such a big controversy because of this plot twist, and with Myne lying about being essayed by the main protagonist, and but instantly being revealed to be that she's lying and just doing it to ruin the Shield Hero's credibility. It's just one thing after another, and it I can definitely see where a lot of people this leaves a bitter taste in their mouth, where it makes people not want to watch the show right away. And again, I enjoy it overall, but I know a lot of people was such a controversy that it actually put off a lot of people watching the show.
Myself included. I don't have a whole lot more I can say, but it's like stories like this in anime you really have to nail. And from what I've heard, like she has gotten a good amount of comeuppance, but in some cases you could argue it's not enough because you pissed off a lot of people by doing that.
Yeah, and I'm trying to think of where we were the last time I watched because she kind of remains the same though. She keeps manipulating different heroes. She's done the same with the shield, the spear. Yeah, actually, no, she's done it for all four. Now that I think about it,
So at
not
some
not not the exact same thing, but she's manipulated them in some way and uh caused them to turn away from their own mission.
and at no point nobody said, "Hey, don't trust her."
They have their own issues. She just preys upon them.
I don't think I want to watch this show.
It's enjoyable, but you have to get through that part, and then the there's definitely season two is definitely not the best. So
I've
season
heard that.
three and I've enjoyed.
Yeah, I've heard season three is much better.
Yeah, season two covers some really lower, like slower arcs. It's pretty much two separate arcs that make up the season, and I don't know. There's just a lot thrown into a very short amount of time.
Yeah,
But
I guess I can kind of see that. I can co-sign.
yeah, but again, it's the main one that starts the entire series where it's like, oh, great, not this is fun. This makes this anime loads of fun. Not really.
Yeah, I can co-sign.
All right. So your last honorable mention?
Elizabeth is not an ordinary pet from Gintama.
Okay.
All right, it's an honorable mention because as dumb as it is, and as much as I don't really care for it, it is funny. So Elizabeth is Katsura's pet that was given to him by Sakamoto. Oh, it's this giant terrifying, weird looking duck that walks around and doesn't talk. Every now and then it has moments where it can be cool. But as it turns out, the reason that is because its real name is Dragonia and it's a prince. It's also revealed that sometimes it's a prince, but sometimes it's this weird, almost phallus-like alien. And it seems like no matter what we learn about Elizabeth, everything kind of seems to change at some point. But in particular, whenever they try to build it up, oh, Elizabeth is really some twisted alien who's still looking out for Katsura and the good guys. But it's like I don't know. Oh, because in all honesty, I do think it's kind of funnier if it's just this weird duck-looking thing with that looks like it's just a guy in a costume, whom that just happens to beat the snot out of everybody, but it means to. At the same time, though, I'm never bored when they reveal stuff about Elizabeth. I'm confused. I'm sometimes disgusted. I sometimes I want to cry, but I'm never bored. So as a plot twist, it's not that bad.
It seems like that's the running gag for this character, but I can see wanting to know because I remember when I saw the character, it's like I wonder who's in there, and then not asking because I didn't watch the show yet, and just but if they keep changing it, I'm guessing it's probably changes. There's probably more beyond what you've actually mentioned where it's
There,
revealed it's someone
yep,
else.
yep. There's also a whole race of Elizabeths. I guess that's the plural. The episodes are just bizarre, but I'm like I said, I'm not bored, so I guess in a sense it. All right, that's Gintama.
Uh,
That's Gintama.
Yeah. Yeah. So my final one.
Yes.
All right. So my last one I have it is Hawks kills twice in My Hero. So Hawks has been built up as this really popular. He's the number two hero now that All Might's retired. He's kind of this cool guy. Uh, and he's the one who's infiltrating the League of Villains by posing as one of the heroes that's kind of working with the Meta Liberation Front, which is trying to let people use their quirks more freely. And he, when the big attack on the group starts, he attacks twice because twice's power is that he duplicates himself or duplicates those that he knows of, and uh, Hawks knows that twice's power is going to make it so that they're way outnumbered, way outmatched. And Twice ends up becoming one of the most sympathetic villains. Because he used his powers not necessarily for selfish, but pretty much he cloned himself to have one of them go do his job so he could relax. One of them cleans his house. Well, this actually led to his psyche splitting, where he didn't know which one of him was the real one anymore when he clones himself. And he actually stabbed himself in the head to figure that out, kind of thing. And it's you feel for him because whenever he's not wearing his mask, he kind of loses himself. And there's a lot like with him, he's very sympathetic, and he's on the verge of not really being a bad guy. He's just got his own issues, and society's kind of rejected him for that. And you get again one of the most popular characters killing one of the most sympathetic characters off, and it hurts this arc. It feels like, I mean, it changes the dynamic between a lot of characters because a lot of more of the characters now become more aggressive on the villain side because Twice was killed by one of the heroes. So I don't know, it changes so much in the story, and giving that he actually like, and it's legit like you think maybe that Twice kills himself. No, it's 100% revealed. Hawks kills Twice.
Does Hawks at least feel at least feel somewhat sorry for it?
He feels bad for killing Twice, but he says that it was a necessary evil because it's a Twice being able to clone himself, and he has this move called Sad Man's Parade, where he creates pretty much an army of himself or others, and they can march. And the big fear is that he'll do this with like Shigaraki. So there's a whole bunch of people who have the disintegration ability marching through the streets, being able to destroy everything in their path.
I can't imagine the story would last too long if that happened.
Yeah, so that's kind of the reason that they kill him off, is that his powers deemed too much to handle because again he could create this large army of other people that would destroy the world pretty much in a matter of seconds instead of giving them a fighting chance. So I know why they kill him off, but it feels like just it doesn't feel right because again Hawks was considered one of the more popular newly introduced characters, and they make him kill someone off really early on in his story arc.
And from the little I know of My Hero, I'm sure Toga took that really well.
Yeah, you guessed it 100%. She's like the main one that flips out about it.
Somehow this is Deku's fault.
She still wants his blood for some reason, so
I heard what she said about him in the most in one of the episodes, according to my friend. I'm like, huh. So that sick twisted fanfic I came up to ruin this show might be coming to light.
yeah.
I can co-sign though. I can understand the somewhat torn feelings of it.
Yeah. I think maybe if it had been a more minor hero, or someone else acting like Hawks is just trying to disable him and someone else kills him, I think I would have liked it more because, and then I wouldn't feel as conflicted about Hawks as I do.
I can definitely understand that.
All right. So your final one?
Okay, so in hindsight, I've had a couple of weeks, maybe even a month or so, to sit on this plot twist because I'll just get into it. Erina can't have a persona because she is a persona. Persona 5 Tactica.
Okay.
Okay, so the Phantom Thieves gets kind of stuck in this kind of air. I guess they kind of get stuck in the metaverse. And they run into this freedom fighter named Erina. Now, at the first glance, Erina's super cool. Well, she's a badass. She's a cool fighter. She saves the Phantom Thieves when they first show up. But she can actually be pretty hilarious and childish too when she wants to be. But there's also another character named Toshiro, who's this politician who's very by the book but kind of nervous at times. And with a lot of Persona 5 games, you get two new Phantom Thieves. So you think to yourselves, oh, they're both going to be. Erina's going to fight alongside you guys and then get her persona, and Toshiro's finally going to open up and then he'll get his persona. That's not how it works, though. Throughout the game, the whole game is kind of about Toshiro. Oh, you fight the shadow version of his abusive fiance, his dad. You meet his mom. Um, and throughout it, Erina and Toshiro they kind of bicker with each other every now and then. Toshiro calls out Erina for kind of being childish at times, kind of like the Phantom Thieves, but says you have to grow up at some point. And while Erina just kind of rolls her eyes. But it's revealed in one of the later chapters or the later levels of the game that we don't know where Erina comes from. We don't know a thing about her, only to realize Erina's not a real person. She's actually just a manifestation of a childhood friend of Toshiro, named Eri. This doesn't work in a lot of areas because, for one, they felt like different characters. In a sense of if you don't like Toshiro, but you can kind of like Erina, or if you don't like Erina, you can like Toshiro. But instead of making two compelling, interesting stories, they combine them into one, and it doesn't work. And Erina's the one fighting. For just for me to reiterate, Toshiro's the one who's trying to come up with stuff, but sometimes still feels useless. And as it turns out, like she's his courage. She's the one in school who always said, "And we need to stand up for what we believe in." So as it turns out, she can't have a persona like she wants because she's his persona. What?
Yeah, because all the other personas are kind of, I don't know, they're fictional characters. There's Zoro and Captain, well, not fate necessarily, but historical or these characters that have larger than life because isn't one Captain Kidd?
Yes.
So it's like, yeah, they might be real people, but they were based on like the people with like a lot of history. So this person being that'd be like me being your persona, which might be a thing, but who knows?
It possibly and the really sucky thing about it, the thing that made me so angry, like I'm gonna be honest, I was legitimately angry at this because to me, you just have Erina, who's this cool, interesting, funny, likable character, and as it turns out, she's more of a plot device than anything. She doesn't really have her own story. Like the person she's based on has her own story, but the Phantom Thieves don't really meet her. She shows up in the epilogue and it's throughout the story. It's revealed that Toshiro and Eri do have a thing for each other. But it's also kind of weird because the Phantom Thieves keep pointing out, Erina and Toshiro kind of interact a lot. I'm like, oh yeah, this 30-year-old guy and this 16-year-old girl. Oh, they don't. The two of them don't get together, but it's a little kooky how you keep pointing out, Toshiro, you're a grown ass man, and this 16-year-old girl, you guys seem to get into it a lot. It just comes across as kind of kooky just to make a romance between a character who we didn't really get to meet her that much. We didn't get to know her nearly as well. So it feels like we were supposed to care about Eri, the real person, but Erina, the person who we want to get her persona, her own development, just feels like a plot device. She doesn't feel as interesting, and that's what kind of hurts me.
I could almost see it being one where it could have been done better had Eri, the actual person, been come out as revealed as either as a bad guy or becomes another member of the Phantom Thieves or in that group.
Something like that might have worked, because it also just leads to the end of, well, we haven't talked about the ending of Persona 5 all that much, but I want to get your take. Did you enjoy the whole, oh, well, fate god, we have to fight? Did you enjoy the final boss or the final villain of the original Persona 5?
I mean, I haven't played that part. I've only seen it through the anime.
Either one.
In the anime, it's not paced well at all.
No.
And I don't know if it's paced. I'm assuming it's paced at least a little bit better in the game.
I don't even know if the pacing's the problem, but the point I'm trying to get to is it doesn't feel personal. Like you've talked before, you've said you would have liked Morgana to have gotten his own palace. That feels personal. Akechi being the main villain, that feels personal. Dr. Maruki felt very personal. No, but the main villain is just another fate god thing, and it doesn't work. But it's like I've said before, if the characters were presented in a cool way, I'd be like, you know what? I can forgive it. But this whole Toshiro Erina persona thing, just, I don't know. It made me like Erina a lot less. And she was slowly growing up there. Like, wow, I don't like her as much as I like characters like Futaba or Ryuji, but she's kind of climbing up there, only for me like, oh no, just gonna bring you down a little bit. You're sitting pretty low. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I can definitely see this being very frustrating because a character built up to be a lot more fun and revealed to just be a plot device for someone else's development. I don't know. That just feels wrong.
And you want to know the real kicker about this? You know how when in Persona 5, when they tear off their masks, they get their new attire and their masks they become Phantom Thieves?
Mm-hmm.
Toshiro's original attire is just like a suit and tie, like a regular politician. His Phantom Thief gear is the exact same thing. The outfits of the Phantom Thieves are supposed to represent rebellion and the courage, the person you are inside coming out and standing up for yourself, but you are dressed the exact same way.
I mean, I guess that means that the person is on the outside is the person he is on the inside, but still, if that had been the lesson, it would have been interesting, but
it's not. And then the Phantom Thieves don't even meet the real Eri because they don't. Erina disappears, but Eri is still around, which I grew to like Erina. I really did, but you just took her and I'm getting repetitive, but it didn't work. And I can honestly say it got to the point where I'm like, I'm ready to replay Strikers. I'm ready to replay Royal. Tactica is gonna be a hard sell for me.
what if they come up with Tactica Royale and they add Eri into the story?
Richard, I appreciate what you're trying. Richard, I appreciate what you're trying to do. You're trying to be a good friend right now. I think I never know with you sometimes, but I don't know, buddy. I don't know how I would have fixed it rather than just scrap the story and start over.
Okay. It might be worth a shot, but who knows?
Yeah, yeah. So the most I'd want to do is when we eventually do our what would our Phantom Thief characters be like video. Maybe I'll include Erina just to see what could happen. I don't know. Maybe.
Okay.
Yeah. I want to talk about that video more because it's coming, guys, but it's gonna take a minute.
Yeah, I need to get through a little bit more of this story, probably.
Take your time, my friend.
Alright, but I think we're ready to wrap up.
Please, therapy, guys. It's a beautiful thing.
Alright, so ladies, gentlemen, and others, do you agree or disagree with our list? Do you love any of these plot twists? I mean, some of them I can see some people liking, but others, I don't know how you could possibly like them.
Yeah, and if you actually, and like obviously, if you agree, if you disagree and think I actually like some of these plot twists, that's awesome. Let us know what you think. Let us know what you think. Hank, and what are some plot twists for you that just go, that doesn't work for me, brother?
Yeah, I'm interested to hear if y'all have some that are more, because this list was actually a little bit more tough than I thought it would be for me.
I actually agree. But as usual, be sure to like, comment, subscribe, check out all of our other videos. Be good to yourselves and be good to each other. We'll see you next time. This has been Alex.
And Richard.
And you have been listening to Anime Egotists. Good night and peace easy.